Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 7 and 8 of the Untamed. And yeah, so last episode, shenanigans with our three boys, XiChen and Wuxian. Poor Wanji. he's just not prepared to handle these guys. And then we got Wuxian and Wanji meeting Lan Yi, one of the founders with the Land Clan, and yeah, her beautiful white zither and rabbits with forehead ribbons. So it's been crazy. I'm getting that we're getting a little bit into the differences between the Untamed and the donghua novel, which is okay. Again, like I said, it's going to keep me on my toes with what they change from the donghua and the novel as I'm reading the novel and have watched the donghua. So it's going to be very interesting. But I'm very curious to know what we're going to do with this Lan Yi plot and then how the Wen siblings factor into it. I'm assuming they're going to get the little iron shard from the tiger amulet, and then Wuxian's going to get that, and we're going to go from there. So that's what I think is going to happen, but I'm not entirely sure. But I'm pretty excited. Like I said in the last episode, I love seeing these boys and their antics. And we're still in the flashback. So I've heard some of you comment saying that it's like a 30 episode flashback, which sounds like a mixture of the donghua and the novel too, because the novel right now is like flashing into Yi City already. And we're only like 36 chapters in. And then only 36 chapters. And then the donghua like covered the whole flashback first. And then we got to Yi City at the end. So it's going to be interesting to see how this weaves it in as well. And what they do with the story. If it's like a combination of both. Or if it does its own thing. We shall see, right? But I'm pretty excited. I absolutely love the shenanigans in the last episode. It was great. But yeah. Old Wanji and Wuxian down here with Lan Yi. And it looks like she's kind of like resided herself to being, stuck down there. So I'm going to be very curious to see how they get out and what all ends up happening. It seems like it's tying to the turtle cave too, in a way. So that's going to be interesting too. But yeah, so I'm excited, y'all. I hope y'all are too, but let's not waste any more time, shall we? I've been waiting all week, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to wait anymore. I got to watch the Untamed. I can see why you all got a little bit addicted to this show. It is, when I first started watching it, I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just watch 2 episodes a week. It's okay. And the more I get into it, the more I'm like, okay, well, it's been 5 episodes. It's been 5 days since I watched the last 2 episodes. So I have a feeling it's going to be hard not to binge. It's going to be hard not to binge this series. I just have that feeling. So let's fangirl together, shall we? We're going to start episode 7 of The Untamed, and we're going to start that here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh my gosh. These episodes were great. Oh man. So yeah, the story diverges a bit in these 2 episodes from the donghua and from the novel that I've read so far, but I'm okay with it because again, it's a different adaptation. It's something new. I'm all about it, but it's something new, but yet at the same time, it's familiar. There were familiar elements to the donghua and the novel in here, but then it goes a different direction in other places. But man, these 2 episodes, I took 2 full pages of notes. I was like, haha. So we got a lot in these 2 episodes, actually. Quite a lot. So the thing is, Lan Yi gives the iron to Wuxian and Wanji, and there's the family connection there where she makes the connection of Bo Shan's grand disciple, basically, or grandson, essentially, is Wuxian. So she's like, well, this is your task too. And I also thoroughly get the impression that Lan Yi had a thing for Bo Shan, for sure. Totally had a thing for Bo Shan. It was like she was doing her little Yoda business held up in Dagobah there, but I really, really liked that scene. And just it's over. Like, Wanji loves Wuxian. Like, it's so obvious. I mean, the glances between them in this episode, like, they just kind of look at each other, and it's like, yep. And when you think about it, it didn't hit me until Chang says it at the end of episode 7, when he's like, oh, we've been here 6 months. It's like, oh, okay, so there is that passage of time that's happened. So, they were basically stuck in the cave for a whole day and a night, and that's why Chang and them were all worried about them, and Wuxian and Wanji don't realize that much time has passed. But man, that grin that Wuxian gives to Wanji whenever he's like, oh, well, there's nothing in the cave. It was just cold and we froze. And we were exhausted while we tried to escape. And that's why it took so long. And then he like looks over to Wanji. He's like, yeah, see, I did it. I did the thing. I lied and it worked. And Wanji's like, oh my God. But just, and it's interesting to see Wanji showcase so much emotion in these episodes. So much emotion. Like Wanji being so expressive, even if he doesn't say anything. Like there's obviously the damn lantern smile, which we'll talk about that. It's going to be the thumbnail. There's no way it's not. But him getting frustrated at Chirin, where he's like, we should do something. We should get these pieces and take them to the cold spring now while we can. And Chirin's like, well, we'll discuss it later. And you can tell Wanji's frustrated because he's like, you're just pushing off the inevitable. Like, we need to talk about this. And I like that. I like that Wanji's showing these emotions already. It's great. So yeah, Huiseng. Huiseng was really big in this episode as well, and I love that the first thing we get out of him at the start of episode 7 is that he's afraid of snakes. Afraid of snakes, and it's like, oh, what a foreshadowing that he just doesn't like Yao or Yang because they're snake-like. So that's so interesting. It says he's afraid of snakes while he has the fan and is practicing his acting skills. I'm sorry, but Yibo as Wanji, I'm on board 100% now after this episode. After episode 7 and 8, I may have had my doubts at the beginning, but Yibo just nails it as Wanji in these episodes. Like the emotion, the range, the stoic, majestic quality that he has. But yet at the same time, they're kids right now, so it's like he just pulls that off. But he's so damn good. And the scene I think that really got me was when there's already this tension being set up between Chang and Wanji, and I really like it. I like how it's done so naturally. They were automatically seeing the tension between Chang and Wanji, that Chang is like, why are you hanging out with Wanji all the time? Are you guys besties? You guys are like oil and water. And Wuxian's like, well, we're actually friends. And Wanji, you can tell, is jealous that Chang has Wuxian all to himself. Wanji's actually jealous of everybody having Wuxian all to themselves, except him. It's like he gets kind of jealous of Huiseng. He's definitely jealous of Chang. It's a fun time, right? But the rabbit lantern and the smile on his face, that ghost of a smile, and Wuxian's like, oh, you smiled. And he's like, no, me smile. And it's like, it's just, that moment was so good. So I like that we're also setting up in this, again, y'all have told me that this sets up a lot of the character dynamics, and it does a really good job in these 2 episodes especially, but the dynamics between Yanli and XiChen, we get more context to it. Like, we see them hanging out, and we see them interacting with one another, and they seem like they're getting along really good, and I think Yanli does love XiChen at this point. In the donghua, it almost seems like she's being just forced into the marriage, and she doesn't really have any feelings towards him, but in this, you do get to see her and him interact more, and they do like each other. Just for some reason, because XiChen's a tsundere, whenever the other girls like Mian Mian and them start to pester him about it, he's like, shut up, I don't want to mention her. And everybody takes it the wrong way, but it's just that XiChen doesn't want to talk about it, right? And I'm sure that we're going to touch base on the whole arranged marriage and all of that. But Yanli really seems to like him, and he just isn't having it. And then when they do the wishes from the lanterns, and you can tell that Yanli and Qing are wishing the same thing for their brother. We did not see Ning a lot in this episode, and that was kind of concerning. I kept being like, where's Ning? And we didn't see him hardly at all, except when he was like being possessed. So I'm a little curious about that. But yeah, Wuxian's wish is that he wishes to uphold and serve and fulfill the justice needed and have no regrets. And you can see Wanji kind of look at him when he wishes that, and it's like, my heart. But yeah, then we have that fight for Yanli's honor that Wuxian gets into. And Wuxian like decks XiChen, like leaves a big old sucker and bruise and bloody lip on him. I was like, damn, they spared no expense on the makeup for that. And Wuxian doesn't look like he got scuffed up too much at all. But again, these 2 episodes are like a really cool marriage between the donghua and the novel and this new adaptation, because you have Wuxian inadvertently kind of getting into the fight with XiChen. It's just in a different location than it is in the donghua. And then you have Fang Mian coming. And here's the thing. At first glance, I was like, man, everybody's been cast really well in this show so far. And then when Fang Mian first shows up and he's kind of serious, I'm like, oh, you don't look like Fang Mian at all. What the heck? You look like Chang. He looks like Chang. The actors do. But I'm like, you don't look like XiChen, like Fang Mian, like I expected. But then, that's because he's all stoic and everything. But then when Chang and Yanli and Wuxian are playing and chasing each other, and there's this smile that breaks on his face, it's like all that hard exterior like melts away, and you're like, oh, there's Fang Mian. There he is. He's been there the whole time. So he was a really good choice for Fang Mian, I think. It's just, it was a little jarring. The donghua makes them all very slender and beautiful, and so when you see like, oh yeah, these are middle-aged men, they're not going to look like the donghua counterparts. But man, old Daddy Jin, we get him in this, and he has the attitude and the vibe of Daddy Jin. At first glance, I was like, oh, you're Daddy Jin? But the more he talked, the more I was like, oh, no, you are. And when he said the thing about marriage being serious, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that was such a hypocritical remark. I'm like, you're talking about fidelity? Good sir? You? Okay. Like, oh my gosh. And you can tell Chang is conflicted in all of this with the whole marriage thing, because Chang probably understands that Yanli does love XiChen, but at the same time, he doesn't like XiChen because XiChen's a peacock. He's a prick. He's not really. He's a nice guy. He just puts on this air of being, a Jin. So yeah, I love little Paper Wuxian makes another appearance. I love that. I'm like, yes, please. More Paper Wuxian. All the Paper Wuxian. But I love him and Yanli, their moments together. The actress that plays Yanli, she's so wonderful. Like, she captures that purity that Yanli has. Like, that just pure innocence and kindness. And her telling Wuxian, being like, like, what are you doing? Come on, it's fine. And when she said, she's like, oh, you'll find someone to marry. And Wuxian's like, oh, I don't want to find a girl to marry. I was like, no, you don't. You want Wanji. I was like, that line, that pretty much sealed the deal. I was like, oh, no, honey, he ain't going to find a girl to marry. That's not going to happen. And then, yeah, at the very end, they all get ready to leave. And, of course, Wanji has to show up to say goodbye in his own special way. Like, okay. I love it. I love it. So, yeah, so there's been 6 months pass, and I like that Wuxian tells Chang's like, why are you so, up in Wanji's business? What's the deal? Like, he doesn't seem to like you, so why do you hang around him? And Wuxian's excuse is, he is the only one that's equal to me, that we're on equal footing here. And I like how he phrases it that way, because then it'll make more sense later on when they're fighting together and alongside each other in the present, that they're both on equal footing. It's a nice little reference to that. But it's kind of sad there at the end, because you see Yanli and Wuxian and Chang all playing and laughing and running around Fang Mian, and they all leave as a big family. And then behind the scenes, you see Wanji like staring longingly at them, and then XiChen shows up. And it's a nice reference that the contrast between their family lifestyles. Like, you have Wuxian that's involved in this big, warm family. Like, he has his sister, he has his brother, he has his father, they have their mother. We haven't seen Madame Yu yet, but they have their mom. And they're all this cohesive family, like, just being sociable and interacting with one another. And then you have, like, Wanji and XiChen by themselves. And it's cold and quiet. And yeah, Kieran's there, but he's their uncle, he's not their parents. And so I like that XiChen's like, it's going to get just as quiet as normal around here once they're gone. And he says it like it's not a good thing. And I think Wanji agrees. So I like that. And then bridging episodes 7 and 8 with the rabbits. And he's like, happy. Like, that was like, oh my God. The fangirling in this, I couldn't help it. I was like, oh my God, this episode was so good. But Wuxian debating whether he takes the rabbits with him or not. And he's like, no, this is your home. And plus, if Wanji gets lonely, he can talk to you. It's like, and then here's the thing. He does. He goes to the rabbits. He's like, farewell. And says farewell to the rabbits. It's like, oh my God, Wanji. I love it. I love that he left Wanji the rabbits and Wanji talks to them. I love it. So, XiChen's got some bite to him. And I like that his character, that we're seeing just how intimidating XiChen can be. I love that. Because when Chao shows up, and XiChen's having none of it, it's like his eyes snap open and you can just see. And Chao, I was feeling a little bad for Chao at first when Ruhan was like, oh, go and find the amulet, and he wasn't really giving Chao the time of day. I felt a little bit of empathy for him, and his actor does a good job playing Chao. But then when he rubbed the muddy boots all over XiChen's fine rug and continued to be an arrogant prick, I was like, my sympathy's gone. Cool. I mean, the actor that plays him does a really good job because you really don't like Chao. Chao's one of those you love to hate villains. Like, Chao's one of those villains that you don't like him at all, but you kind of enjoy it. He's a good villain. And yeah, y'all. Oh my god. So, Wuxian leaving the note that he's going to leave with a smiley face at the end. Like, okay guys, bye. I'm going to go off to fight spirits. Smiley face. And then Wanji switching out of the all white robes to blue robes. Kind of a representation of Wuxian's impact on his life, maybe, possibly, probably. I love it. And so then they go through the town together, and I love that we have the mask moment where him and Huiseng try to scare each other. Well, Wuxian tries to scare Wanji with the mask, and then Huiseng does scare Wuxian with the mask. And I love the idea of Huiseng represented behind the mask, because Huiseng does put on a persona throughout this series, several personas. And so I like the Huiseng and Wuxian. Wuxian, the mask is a nice reference to the present where he's in Mojang Yu's body and he has to wear the mask. Huiseng is a more metaphorical reference to where you'll see him wear all the different masks in the future. Really nice. I like it. And then what did I put? I put it here. Yeah, and when they did the that look when they were like that was great. So we get to see the Lotus Pier. And it's interesting. I don't know why they did all the CGI for the Lotus Pier to make it, I guess, look more like the donghua maybe or the novel. But Chang leaving the Lotus Pier and then Yanli wishing him off is interesting. I feel like the fairy thing is setting up the turtle cave. We're just not doing the turtle cave. We're doing the fairy instead. That seems to me like what's the compromise. Because the more you think about it, the turtle didn't look that great in the donghua CGI, so I can't imagine them trying to do like a giant puppet of a turtle here. So maybe the fairy is the better idea. Maybe the fairy's better. But, so the idea of the lady florist having the piece of the iron and them trying to all get it. And I love the Huiseng and Wuxian bonding. I love them bonding in this episode, and you could tell that Wanji is like slightly jealous of them. But when all the flower petals are cascading down, even Huiseng's charmed by Wanji. He looks over and he's like, "What I wouldn't give to be an elegant gentleman like Lanzan." And Wuxian's like, "I agree, he's handsome." It's like, But yeah, even Huiseng being wooed by Wanji and his simple elegance. I love it. So yeah, so we basically have Yang, which y'all told me it's Zhu Yang. It's not Yang, it's Yang. So if Yang has a piece of the iron, Chao has a piece of the iron, Wanji and Wuxian have a piece of the iron, and there's one left floating around somewhere. I'm assuming where the Ni brother is. So interesting. And they're trying to get the piece from Wanji. Cool. So I'm assuming the fairy is the cannibal monster. Again, where is Ning? Ning has been absent this entire episode, which is slightly concerning. And we don't, and I know that King is worried about him, so I'm curious. The Chang and Wen King scene in the diner, in the inn, that scene was so good, where they first tried to out-order each other, and then she canceled it, and she was trying to cause a scene so she could tell Chang that Wuxian was in trouble and send him on his way. She's like, "Look, you need to get out of here, your brother's in trouble, I'm going to make a scene, and you can escape." Makes sense. But there's so much chemistry between King's actress and Chang. Like, there's so much chemistry between them that I didn't think I'd be rooting for a Chang King ship, and now I totally am. Like, every time she's around, he like just has heart eyes. It's amazing. So yeah, the fairy statue taking the place of the turtle. The Wing clan is what suppressed it, and then Chao messed up the seal and everything. And then, of course, Huiseng can't fight because he has the fan instead of the sword. So that's interesting. But yeah, and then, what did I put down here? I have one more note down here. And it's not a spirit snatch. It was all a trap to try to get the iron ore. It's just, oh man, I really like that this story is taking things a little bit differently. And y'all commented in episode 1 that there'd be censorship. You said that the Chinese government doesn't like reincarnation, so it's not exactly phrased the same way. and they don't like the idea of there being zombies or dead people or corpses walking around, so it's puppets. It's like they're being controlled puppets, which I'm assuming Yang has something to do with it. But I'm curious. We haven't seen Madame Yu yet. We haven't seen her. And I'm assuming Chao's mistress isn't going to be a thing. But I'm really curious if this is taking the place of the Turtle Cave, if Chang's going to show up to get Huiseng out of there, and Wuxian and Wanji stay pent up to try to stop the fairy statue. Because we're basically, I'm thinking of where we're at in the story, and we should be near that cave scene. I want to say that we're near it, but I'm not sure. I want to say that we're near the cave scene, possibly. But besides that, I'm like, okay, Chang is probably going to get Huiseng out of there and go back to Madame Yu and them. And then if this is like the cave scene, then, because they left the firewood and stuff there, so it leads me to believe that they'll reignite that later, that Wuxian will be able to patch old Wanji up. But I don't know. There was a hand grab in here. There was the whole thing with the lantern. The eye flirting is just off the charts. Like, there's just so much. I really love it. I really love it. This episode was great. These 2 episodes were great. I want to go back. Honestly, I want to go back and rewatch them right now. Like, when I'm done with this reaction and discussion, I'm probably going to go back and at least rewatch episode 7 because it was so good. Like, just the looks between them. Yibo and Zan, y'all are amazing as Wanji and Wuxian. I never really doubted you to begin with, but now I definitely don't. Like, they're so perfect in this role. And Fang Mian showed up. Daddy Jin's in the picture. Like, all the players are slowly revealing themselves, and it's pretty exciting. So, I'm curious to know what you all thought of this episode down below, what your thoughts were. I'm sure, hopefully you fangirled as much as I did, because this was amazing. So, yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought. But I'm really excited to get to episodes 9 and 10. We'll be a 5th of the way through next set of episodes. Crazy talk, right? So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the reaction. But have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episodes 9 and 10 of The Untamed.